This is Pedro Predictions. In this video I will be talking about the Asian nations that have qualified for the 2022 World Cup and my predictions on their chances within this World Cup. Similarly to the video I did about the African chances, I will just be talking about the teams themselves. South Korea, they had a good World Cup qualification campaign, getting through quite easily in their group, and in the June fixtures just gone, they played many different matches against non-Asian nations, unlike some other countries. They packed their schedule with 4 games. They did lose 5-1 pretty badly to Brazil. However, they did win against Chile 2-0. They drew against Paraguay 2-2, and in that game they were losing and came back, and then they beat Egypt convincingly 4-1. So here South Korea are showing they can compete against nations from outside of Asia. Under Paulo Bento, South Korea have played various formations actually. However, the one that seems to be a mainstay is a 4-1-4-1. I believe this is because South Korea's got numerous of attacking-minded midfielders and wingers, and that central defensive midfielder will come deep and sit as another defender, but then that does create this imbalance in the midfield actually, and I actually think this will be an issue for South Korea. Having said that about South Korea's midfield, someone very important in the midfield for them is Hwang In-bom, who's a very hard tackler, very solid box-to-box midfielder, which South Korea do really need, and he was actually named in Team of the Tournament in the 2019 Asian Cup. And of course, we cannot forget the great leader and captain, Son Heung-min. He's been on phenomenal form for the national team, for Tottenham, and I really think now at the age of 30 he is peaking, and I think this will be a tournament he will shine in. He showed potential in the last tournament, even if they went out in the group stage. Other attacking options for South Korea, they've got Hwang Hee-chung and Hwang Wei-jo, who have cemented themselves in the side very well. Someone to really look out for in the South Korean team is a young winger who'll only be 23 at the time of the tournament, Tong Woo-young. He's been playing at Freiburg consistently for 2 seasons now, and he's just a very skillful, confident winger who is very happy to take on defenders, and he draws in the fouls. South Korea's chances this World Cup, I do see South Korea making it out of the group and get into the round of 16, with all the factors I've mentioned before, and they are a good team, but they've got a game changer in Son, and that makes the difference to the team, and you do need someone like that, a game changer, to pull you through tournaments, to be fair, in the difficult situations or in the desperate times. Overall, Japan had a strong qualifying campaign. Their last 7 games, they won undefeated, and they only conceded 2 goals actually. And they have this tendency to be quite good at not conceding many goals, like in recent fixtures against Paraguay and Ghana. They actually both were 4-1. And with Brazil, they narrowly lost 1-0 to them, a solid performance, but they did lose 3-0 to Tunisia. So overall, solid performances from Japan. The strength about Japanese football is actually loads of their players do play within the top 5 European leagues, and it's actually quite interesting that they've got Germany in their World Cup group, because a lot of their players do play within the Bundesliga. Compared to a lot of the other Asian nations, I feel like Japan has a lot of quality and depth within their squad. In defence, you've got highly experienced Yoshida, you've got Tomiyasu. In midfield, you've got Kamada, who has been excellent for Frankfurt for the past couple seasons now, and he's such a commanding, influential figure. For the national side too, you've even got Haraguchi. As for wingers, you've got Doan, of course Minamino, Furuhashi. So you've got a lot of creativity there, and with Kamada, distributing those balls and pushing forward too, you've got a lot of attacking options there. Japan consistently play with a 4-3-3, and I think this is mainly down to the fact that they have so many different wingers, and the majority of their goals are scored from these wingers. I do actually believe Japan is the strongest nation in Asia on paper in all areas of the field. However, Japan's chances this World Cup, I do unfortunately see it being a group stage exit. The main reason for this is because they're in a skewed group. They've got Spain and Germany, and we saw in the last World Cup a skewed group with England and Belgium. England and Belgium progressed. It's really unfortunate because I feel like this Japanese squad is really exciting. They're a very good squad. And I feel like if they were in another group, they probably would have progressed, to be honest. What is quite interesting about Japan is that since they've been in the World Cup, they go through this yo-yo phase of being knocked out from the group stage, round of 16, group stage, round of 16. And if you look at the pattern, unfortunately, 2022 looks like a group stage exit, Japan. However, hopefully Japan breaks this curse and proves me wrong. Australia. I don't know their best formation because they've experimented a lot with different formations and they've had very mixed results. I'm not going to lie, in the last group stage of their World Cup qualifiers, they did just about get out the group, but all credit to them. They played really well in the playoffs and deservedly got to the World Cup. Something to note about Australia is they are an awkward team to play against, and there is genuine kind of like fear or nervousness in the oppositions they play against. They're a very physical side. I think that's why. They're very physical. They win their balls in the air a lot. Who knows, they might be getting that from playing rugby and Aussie rules. Australia's midfield is actually pretty solid. You've got the likes of Hrustic, who has just a lot of quality and is a skillful player, and he's been in fine form for Frankfurt. You've got highly experienced Aaron Moy, you've even got Rogic, and of course we cannot forget their goalkeeper Redmayne. What absolute heroics he did in the playoffs. Of course what he did was dodgy and it's very debatable, but if you look back in 2014 World Cup where Tim Krul was chatting nonsense to the penalty takers, I think that was dodgy as well. But it is heroics like this and moments like this that brings a lot of team spirit, confidence in the player himself and the whole squad as a whole, and it's just something this Australian side, who's had very mixed results and inconsistencies, need going into this World Cup. An ongoing issue for Australia the past few years now is they don't have a genuine goal threat, and this is a massive issue for them, and it's very evident in their mixed results. I mean, understandably, it's very difficult to replace the absolute beast Tim Cahill. Something playing into Australia's favour is that out of the past 5 World Cup winners coming into the next tournament, 4 of them have failed to win their opening match fixture. And funnily enough, one of them was France that failed to do so. So, oi oi Australia, maybe it's your chance. Australia's chances this World Cup, I do see it being a group stage exit again for the 4th consecutive World Cup, with all the reasons I've mentioned, and I just feel like the other teams just have more quality in their players and in their style of play than Australia right now, and I do think Australia's team spirit will actually be the major factor for them, and I do think that opening game will be really important for them. Saudi Arabia. First thing to mention is their World Cup preparation. So straight after qualification in March, they scheduled 2 games in June against South American nations, which they only lost narrowly actually and put up a good fight. And they've scheduled 2 games in the September window, and apparently before the World Cup starts in November, they've scheduled 3 friendlies beforehand. Not sure how they're going to fit that in, but so they're going to have played, about 7, maybe 5 games before the World Cup. And I think the manager, Ave Ghanad has had a big input with that, just to ensure they're just as prepared as possible, really. Saudi Arabia usually go for a 4-2-3-1, which is particularly interesting because with his previous African teams, Ghanad was very attack-minded and overloading up front, whereas it looks like he's playing to Saudi's strengths now, who tend to be a defensive-minded team and look for the counter-attack as the defensive midfielders sit back a lot, and with that solo striker up front, but also you've got the strength and pace of winger Al Dawsari, who also can reinforce the front. Something noteworthy about the team is that all the players play within the Saudi league, so there is going to be good understanding, good coherence amongst the squad. However, this would mean that they're less exposed to different styles of play, which I do actually think would hinder them greatly. However, they do have highly experienced and very influential players in their ranks, like Al Faraj and Al Dawsari, who were in the last World Cup actually, so they could bring that experience to quite a youthful Saudi side actually. Granada's got the youngsters coming through, and you've got exciting players like Al Bukharain, who's actually got good stats with the national squad. Fun fact, Saudi Arabian fans were in like the top 5 countries of purchasing the tickets this World Cup, so it looks like there's going to be the most Saudi fans in a World Cup ever, understandably given, you know, the proximity of the countries, and one of the highest in demand matches actually for tickets was Argentina Saudi Arabia. Okay, some of that could be very excited Argentinian fans, you know, thinking they'll win the opening match day very convincingly. But who knows, maybe that, you know, great support will help the national team. Saudi Arabia's chances this World Cup. Most likely, I do think they will get knocked out of the group stage. I feel like the quality of the teams in their group are much better than theirs. However, if there is one Asian team that will surprise this World Cup, I genuinely think it will be Saudi Arabia, and I think it's down to their highly experienced manager Ghanad, and their FA being very clever of organising friendlies against non-Asian teams. And there's just something about this Saudi team, they're coming under the radar a lot, and I do feel like they can surprise teams like Poland, who have recently not done well in tournaments, and a team like Mexico. Iran's preparations this World Cup are nowhere near as good as it was 4 years ago. They have recently played a friendly against Algeria in June, which they actually lost 2-1. Bearing in mind Algeria was going for an experimental side and Iran was going for a, you know, almost full strength squad. And before that, they haven't played a non-Asian side since, I guess, the World Cup 4 years ago. Speaking of preparation, even though their manager Skocic has done wonders with the team and actually has the highest win percentage for an Iranian manager in decades, there's turmoil actually. So the Iranian FA sacked Skocic, but I don't know, I've read mixed things. They've sacked him and then they've reinstated him, and so there's a lot of confusion, and I think part of it was because Skocic, you know, wanted preparation for the World Cup and playing against non-Asian sides, and there was miscommunication about that. And like I've mentioned in previous videos, when there's structural issues with the FA, when there's squad issues, management issues, that will only hinder a nation greatly within a tournament. And I do really think if they do not get their act together, this will hinder them greatly this time round. Not gonna lie, I don't really know the formation Skocic likes to go for with Iran, because they've played very different formations and they've actually had good success overall, as they are a dominant force in Asia. They look more comfortable on the ball as well since Skocic has taken over. They're more attack-minded than previously in their footballing history. And of course, in their ranks, they've got, you know, the good duo of Azmoun and Taremi, and Taremi can even play as a winger, not just a striker, so that creates more diversity there. In the last World Cup, Azmoun was criticised for underperforming. However, he was under a defence-minded coach. first World Cup, I guess, less experience, younger as well. And I feel like this time round, under Skocic, he has been thriving, and he'll do better this World Cup, I'm sure. A goalkeeper as well, by Ranvand, who isn't talked about much, but in the last World Cup, he was outstanding. He was really good for them. Kept them in most of the matches. So the whole squad as well have that experience from the last World Cup, and their squad hasn't changed a huge amount, so that should help them a lot this time around. Iran's chances this World Cup, I'm sorry to say, but I do see it being a group stage exit for the third consecutive World Cup, unfortunately. The main reason I say that is because of these structural issues. Given that they've come so far, they've had that different style of play under Skocic, and they're doing very well at the moment. And just all this turmoil to be coming straight away, and I really see that having a lasting effect for the few months, and that will affect their preparation and whatnot, unfortunately. However, I do hope Iran proves me wrong and gets out of the group stage and makes footballing history for themselves. Qatar, where to start? I don't want to offend any Qataris, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but we cannot deny there has been so much controversy surrounding them hosting this World Cup. They are regulars in the Asian Cup, however they had never won a knockout game within that tournament, and it was only in 2019, coincidentally coming up to the 2022 World Cup, that they won the Asian Cup, and they did so in such odd fashion. They cleaned their group completely well. They won all their games within 90 minutes, and they only conceded one goal, and that was in the final against Japan. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about that. I think the most important thing to highlight about the Qatari national side is that they have something called the Aspire Academy, which actually is quite a nice idea of trying to promote sports and bringing up athletes, and also giving them schooling education at the same time. So that's actually quite good. The thing is though with this Aspire Academy is that a lot of the recruitment, so to say, is actually coming from other Middle Eastern or African or even other nations, where they get these young players at a very young age, and if they see potential talent in them, then they'll naturalize them, give them a passport, and ask them to play for the national side. Whereas if you look at migrant workers, that have been working on construction or anything else in that country for years or even decades, they're still not granted citizenship. So there is that, it's almost like pick and choose when they want to naturalize players and when not. And especially with this idea of sports washing. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think Qatar is sport washing here? Do you think it's a nice idea they are providing education for them too? Having criticised Qatar so much, we cannot forget the incredible work their manager Felix Sanchez has done for the national team, and under him there seems to be such a good team spirit and cohesion within the squad. However, the whole squad plays within the Qatari league, and I'm very certain the manager is very aware of that, as Qatar has got themselves involved in other international and other confederations as competitions, and they've been playing a lot against non-Asian sides. Something else important to highlight is that the manager has actually been in Qatar for like 15 odd years, and he was working in that Aspire Academy, so he's been with the same crop of players for so long, so he'll have a very fine understanding of the players. Looking at Qatar's fixtures against non-Asian sides, they did compete in that Copa America, which if you look at their fixtures, I don't think they did too bad, and that draw against Paraguay, they were actually 2-0 down and they came back 2-2, so that's quite impressive. If you look at their CONCACAF one, quite mixed, not difficult teams admittedly, and then admittedly when they do face a good team within that region, they couldn't quite do it. The Arab Cup, they did come third. Again, though, the Arab Cup was tailored to, only players that play within those countries or under 20 years old. So a lot of the teams were missing their star players, essentially. And if you look at the qualifiers they played in Europe, they didn't do that great, not gonna lie. They picked up 2 wins, okay, and out of their 9 points, 7 of them came from home, so that's actually quite interesting. So maybe that home advantage is really such a big factor. But they did lose horribly to teams like Serbia and Portugal, so I don't know how well they can do against the really bigger teams. Qatar have tried various formations, however their mainstay formation seems to be a 5-2-3. And they are actually a defence-minded team, and even in the games where they're scoring a lot of goals, they're not dominating in possession, so they actually prefer to play on the counter-attack. And this does work to their advantage, as most of their goals are scored from their forwards. And you've got the very strong and powerful Almoez Ali, and you've also got Afif, who is more of a winger, but he's more comfortable carrying the ball from the midfield, scoring opportunities, or even laying off Ali. Even with all the preparation Qatar has had, and I think they couldn't have prepared for their debut World Cup anymore, I do see Qatar's chances this World Cup being a group stage exit, like the factors I've mentioned earlier, but also even in their fixtures, when they come against top quality sides or elite sides, they do fall short. So evidently their quality is just not good enough for the World Cup yet. However, I do see Qatar picking up points. Interestingly enough, Asia's best performance as a continent within the World Cup was back in 2022 when they did host it, with Japan and South Korea hosting. Japan getting to the round of 16 and South Korea famously getting to the semi-finals. And with the maximum teams qualifying ever for a World Cup from the Asian Confederation of 6 teams, maybe this is Asia's chance again. Who knows? Given this video is about Asian chances in the World Cup, and I don't mean to offend any Muslims out there, but I feel like the last World Cup you had a lot of devout Muslim majority countries qualifying for the first time in a while, like Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, even Saudi, Senegal. And I feel like because of the last World Cup coincided a lot with Ramadan, their preparations were admittedly weaker, given the demands Ramadan has on them. But given the fact that this Qatar World Cup in 2022 is in the winter and it's nowhere near the month of Ramadan, I feel like this will actually help devout Muslim players in the World Cup, from wherever they are. So that's why I also am factoring in why African and Asian nations will have a better chance this World Cup than they did in the last World Cup. But of course, please let me know your comments in the comment section below. Do you think this is relevant? Do you think it's not? You have my predictions on Asia's chances in the 2022 World Cup. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me with it being in Asia again? Do you think this is Asia's time to shine again? Let me know your comments in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Petro predictions.